Jean-Philippe Mateta is another one of those really tight-end players attracting quite a lot of interest from other clubs. So apparently he's looking for a significant pay rise to extend his deal at Selhurst Park. So do you think the club could be forced to accept his demands if they really do want to keep him long term?
Yes, I expect that one to be done. I expect him to do very well. He's earned that contract. He's been accused of going missing occasionally, but nevertheless, his goals do keep coming with a bit more regularity. I don't think Palace want to upset any more right now. We've all seen what a miss he was, and how well he's playing for Arsenal right now, and so they've lost some quality. But I think Mateta's important for them, and I do expect Palace to, particularly the European run going on right now, to be able to afford to get his contract, get him to a level that he's happy with. And then once he's under contract, if he does perform extremely well, then of course they're in a position to get an even higher valuation for him should he end up going elsewhere. But yes, I expect Steve Parish and Palace to bite the bullet and get that new contract done and pay the amount that a striker can demand.
And then Sunderland, they're enjoying a strong return back in the Premier League. Granit Xhaka has obviously been quite influential with that. He's been in top form since signing over the summer. Well, there's been some reports suggesting Juventus are looking to sign him ahead of January. So do you expect Sunderland to do everything they can to keep hold of him?
Yeah, again, I think, look, Sunderland are happy with the way they've started the season. They all know how influential Xhaka has been, and he really has been. And it seems like he's really enjoying this part of it. So although there's interest, I think, again, if there was to be anything at all, it would be in the summer. I don't expect anything to happen at all short term in January. I think Xhaka's going to see the season through, and that would give Sunderland time to look for replacements. There aren't many Grant Xhakas around there with experience, but there are a few, and so they'd be able to replace him with somebody. But I think he's enjoying the project, which is a word I hate to use, but I think he is, and I think he's going to be there. And Sunderland will do all they can because they're really feeling positive and moving forward, and they can see a future with this just now. But he's a crucial part of that squad, and they know it. And so I think they will push the boat out should they have to. But I don't think it's necessarily a contract renewal. I think they'll just do all they can to keep any advice away. And again, it does smack a little bit to me of agent placing a story in the media right now. But it's not the first time we've discussed that before.
And then moving down into the Championship, we've talked extensively before about Leicester and their PSR issues, the charges they're facing. Their case is set to begin this week in court. So what do you think the likely punishment will be for them if they are found guilty?
Well, Leicester have got the problem of having won that lawsuit last year, or at least found a loophole that made everybody a little bit angry, both the EFL and the Premier League, and they certainly haven't forgotten. So there'll be no points let off in terms of good behaviour and cooperation. So overall, there's 3 charges, and it could be 3 points each charge, so it could be 9 points maximum. Now, if there would be an appeal, which I'd expect them to appeal, as I say, I don't expect any appeal to be looked at favourably, certainly not on cooperation. If there was legal issues around the other 2 charges where they got 3 points each, there may be a slight reduction, but certainly I think between 7 and 9 points is what they're going to be looking for. And that's a serious blow for them in the Championship. I mean, we've been talking about Leicester having these issues for a long time now, and it's coming home to roost. And I think, this is going to be a big issue for them, but it will be a severe one. And I've got the feeling that the league would like to make a bit of an example of the way that Leicester have behaved. So I expect them to come down pretty hard on them.
Then elsewhere in the Midlands, Birmingham have revealed their stadium plans after Todd Magner's group secured their full takeover at St Andrews the other week. So what have you made of them? And they're quite ambitious.
They certainly are, and it was quite shocking to see the first impression. I watched the launch live. Look, there's no doubt it is not a cookie cutter type stadium in terms of the look from the outside. It will become globally recognised if it is built to that level. Inside, it's copied quite a few of the facts from the Everton Hill Dickinson Stadium, in terms of the steepness of the seats, etc. So it's almost replicated that inside, but certainly given full credit for something unique on the outside. It seems very Marmite. I think a lot of fans don't like it, a lot of fans love it, but nevertheless it makes a statement. Now, the big question is, the whole complex is a big amount of money. We're talking over 2 billion. And will a council that was basically declared bankrupt be able to support, or central government as well, the road structure, the road improvements, the transport infrastructure, etc., that needs to be done to support this? I've been through this before, and it's a very tortuous route to go down. And while it's a big ambition, I just wonder if it really is just, bitten off just too much right now. The design, and I've also been through the fact of releasing artists' impressions with the spotlights in the sky and the whole thing. I know how that works, and it doesn't always come to reality. We've been there with Birmingham before. I remember before there was going to be a major casino project as well that was going to be going on with David Sullivan, Karen Brady. Look, the other question that we've got to look at is, where are the revenues of this major facility going to go? I mean, it's going to increase a lot of revenues. Now, there's been talk as to whether it's going to go into the club or whether it goes back into Knighthead Capital and some of the investors. So there's a lot of questions still to be answered on that point as well. So a lot more questions, but certainly I'll say a good start for Birmingham, that they put something out there. You've got to aim for the moon sometimes, and they've certainly done that. It's certainly they've been in the shadow of Villa for a long, long time. This is certainly making a statement, but now you've got to live up to it. And as I say, I've been in this phase of projects before, and it is not that easy to then make this reality. It's going to be a lot of arm twisting and a lot of wrangling, a lot of late night meetings, and probably a lot more money than they expect, as costs will escalate as well. Now, look, with Birmingham, HS2 now being stopped at Birmingham basically makes it very attractive, almost like a London club when you're, I think 50 minutes into the centre of London now. So that's one advantage that has always been there. But as I say, it's a long road to go, but it's nice to have ambition, and I give them full marks for that. But whether you like it or not, as I say, it's up to the eye of the beholder. I think they've certainly given themselves something, an image to aim for and a feeling to aim for, and so full marks for that. But let's just see, the jury is very much out on execution on such a big project. It may have been better to have done it in phases and to attempted to have got different things done by certain dates. I think fans would have accepted that, but they've gone for the whole package and wanted to deliver. And look, listen, the chairman spoke very well. He's got that ambition, but there's a few questions yet to be answered on where that money and revenue is going to go. But anyway, let's just follow the story, and we'll be watching it every week.
And then moving up to Scotland, the Celtic's border at the opposite end of the spectrum, they've actually been accused of a lack of ambition, and they were forced to abandon their AGM after protests from shareholders against them last week. So is this really a difficult situation for them to turn around? It seems like quite a toxic situation at Celtic Park at this moment in time.
It is. It's got very toxic, and that AGM did not help. You'd have thought they could have at least thrown some oil on troubled waters, but Ross Desmond, the son of Dermot Desmond, did quite an inflammatory speech, which I didn't really expect. It wasn't really the diplomatic way to have handled the situation. And I watched the footage very quickly after it came out, and certainly Peter Lowell, who I know well and I've dealt with in the past, had to abruptly end the AGM. A lot of shouting and jeering, etc. And I thought he acted a little bit prematurely. I think they could have gone on, and they could have tried to at least answer the questions and had a proper debate. All they've done is bottle it up even further. I think there could have been time for a Q&A, and that could have been the time to really have put forward different sides of the argument. Look, I get the board's argument. They're saying that they have got a duty to preserve the future of the club, but I think that goes beyond the amount of money that they squirrel away in the bank accounts. I don't think the fans have seen enough actual investment. I tend to side with the fans on that. Although I fully understand, but I just think there could have been a better use of funds in terms of developing. I've often talked about Celtic could have even bought another club, made an investment in that way to try and create a pipeline of talent. Fans would have accepted that. But at the moment, they're just seeing that European, blow going out to Karamati as a big issue for them, and that's resonating right now. And the board are handling this, I think, in the wrong way. Now, there's also the way that this is going on to Wilfred Donsey now, who's supposedly coming in from Columbus Crew. A lot of fans are getting behind this, saying he's the cheap option, and that Celtic should be aspiring higher. So this whole debate is resonating, and I think they had a chance at the AGM to try and put an end to it, have it out, and get everything cleared and try and clear the air and move forward. That chance is gone. And so I think it's a difficult situation. It's getting more and more toxic. I think we're going to see more protests during games as well. And if they don't they're on track reasonably well in the league. Hearts have dropped some points. And so Celtic, I think, are only 4 points behind now. So they can actually see that sort of coming back. But if they don't start getting back in form, in terms of getting above Hearts at some stage, winning a title, winning a cup, then I think Celtic will get more and more toxic. And the new manager at some stage, I think he's also seen as not somebody who will come in and challenge the board immediately. He's not that experienced. And so I think that's another issue that the fans would have, that they see the board bringing in somebody who's going to be a bit of a yes man and not come in asking for money straight away. And they'd have preferred a more experienced manager who would have come in, challenged the board. So it's a difficult situation. Certainly, we know the Old Firm, it's a great soap opera. And at the moment, the Celtic one is not a happy one, even though a couple of results in the Scottish Premier League have helped. It's not the full answer, and there's some deep issues behind it, and they're refusing to confront them together properly. Now, rather than an AGM, they could even have a staged event where they have an open debate, and I think that would be great to try and release the tension and release the steam. It wouldn't have to be a formal AGM, but they could actually have people speaking together and hearing both sides. And if the fans are heard, that often means a lot to at least know they're getting their point across. And I think that would be something that I would recommend to the Celtic board at present.
In terms of Wilfred Donsey coming in, what do you think his first priorities will be as he tries to catch Hearts in the league?
Well, he's got to get some stability. Certainly in terms of, I think he's going to be looking at the goals. I think he's going to be looking at the forward line. All I've read about him is he wants to play a certain attacking style of football, which is all very good until you arrive in Glasgow. As Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a game plan till you get punched in the face. And I think Wilfred Donsey's going to understand he's going to get punched in the face, metaphorically, when he comes to Glasgow and sees the pressure he's going to be under with Celtic Park. So I think he's going to be having to adapt to Scottish football pretty quickly. Now, we've seen Hearts, although they had the upset at Aberdeen at the weekend, still playing very good football. Hibs are playing good football. Motherwell, St Mirren, Aberdeen. Some of these clubs are starting to get some form. And so it isn't quite as easy for Celtic as it used to be. So those games at weekends are going to be important tests for Donsey coming in. He's got to get the squad united. I mean, Brendan has left a pretty unhappy squad as well. And so Donsey's got to do his man management skills and try and get them united together. But he's going to need some sort of strengthening. But whether he's got, as I say, the power, the strength of personality and the ability to challenge the owners and the board straight away, that's going to be interesting. And actually, I think he needs to, but I don't know if he will. And so I think we're going to see that issue sort of scrabble on until the summer. If he does well, they win the league, they get some cups, then he's going to have to get backed by the board. But then we're back into the same situation that Brendan was in. Will they release the purse strings? So the never-ending story goes on. And maybe it's time that Celtic look to change the board. Maybe that's something Dermot Desmond's getting the message, that maybe he should be thinking about selling up. Maybe the fans are right in this case, that maybe it is time to change the style of real ownership and management of the club. And I think Peter Lowell, Dermot Desmond must be getting fed up of this sort of continual sniping at them, more than sniping, I mean outright hostility. And they don't really need it in their time of lives right now. So maybe they are thinking about selling out, and I'm sure there'll be a queue of buyers for Celtic right now. So let's not discount that option completely.
Well, obviously, Rangers, they had their takeover early in the summer with the 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh coming in there to take over. They've now actually decided to sack Patrick Stewart and Kevin Felwell after they were appointed before they arrived at the club. So what have you made of that decision? Is it not so much of a surprise given all that's been going on with the transfers and things like that?
It's another one that, again, you have to look at this. It's not a surprise given they were not their appointees, and I get that. But nevertheless, they had a look at the club and they could have made a change on day one, and they didn't. And I think they've made these two sacrificial lambs, to be honest. Now, I'm not saying Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell are superb messiahs that should be kept at all costs. I think they made some mistakes. And were they the right people? There's question marks there as well in terms of their own abilities. However, I do think that the owners came in and, as I say, they had a chance to make those appointments and change them at the time and move things forward. Now, they chose not to. And now that things haven't gone right, they're made it very clear that they're sacking these two guys, and they're the sacrificial lambs to try and protect the board, and Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers and Patrick Matthew. So it smacks a little bit of that to me, and now it's going to be important to make the right decision as to who's going to go in there. It's very rare to see a CEO and a sporting director sacked on the same day. Normally you try and not destabilise the whole club. You try and maybe do one after another at different times. But I think what they've learnt, and I think the downfall for both of them probably was their strength of personality and the way that they handled the media and the communication with the fans. I don't think Patrick Stewart was a great communicator. I don't think he had the strength of personality. And I don't think Kevin Thelwell did the same either. So I think if you're going to be chief executive of Rangers, and I was asked quite a long time ago, and I did turn it down, then I would say you've got to be a very forthright, strong personality and really understand the rough and tumble of Glasgow. And as a sporting director, you've got to have more than just a level of understanding of the Premier League, which is what Thelwell had. I think you've got to be a bit broader and more experienced than that. And I think I'd want somebody a little bit older. Don't forget, poor old Kevin Thelwell's son just joined him in a role there as well. So I'd expect him to be moving on at some stage. I'm sure they'll end up in different positions, in different clubs. I do think it was too big a job for Patrick Stewart. And I think for Kevin, I think it was... He did the right move getting away from Everton. I think he was lucky to end up at Rangers. And I think he may not have been the right appointment either. But I'm just surprised that they've taken so long to make this decision. I think that the new owners could have moved quicker. They should have made that assessment on these two key positions much earlier in the tenure. So I put a lot of responsibility at their door. And as I say, I think they've done this a lot to save their own skins. So the Rangers fans, I think, understand that and will now be looking to see who they do appoint and if it's the quality that Rangers need. And as I say, strength of personality and being very fiercely combative will be very high on the list, in my view, if you're going to be working for Rangers. So, again, both old firm clubs in a bit of turmoil. I love to see it, and it's great to watch it, but it's all part of the soap opera.
Absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds. But that's all from me today, Keith. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, look, another great week coming up, all very exciting, and can't wait to be speaking next week. If it's anything like this last week, I'll be over the moon. So let's keep on going. See you next week.